Very good. Thank you, Simone. Can you see the screen and hear me okay?
Yes, that's good.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, appreciate the time and the opportunity to share what Toyota has been doing in the port space here, specifically in the ports of LA and Long Beach. And so really I'd like to focus on mostly our Class 8 developments, but of course I'll touch on a few other key points as well. So getting into really the port itself, if you see on the second slide here, that the port is really looking to find a lot of ways to get to zero emissions. And that the state of California is doing the same idea where they're looking to enable all of the trucks to actually be zero emission in the state by 2045. And all of the drayage trucks specifically in all ports throughout the country in California by 2035. So it's a very strong push from a policy perspective to get as many of these trucks to either fuel cell or battery as quickly as possible. So of course, there's a lot of incentives and policy support needed to do this, but it sends a very clear message to the industry that we need to develop the right products to help get the operators to a zero emissions solution. So with that, as Toyota, a few years ago in 2017, we unveiled the first vehicle. That's the Alpha truck on the right, the blue truck. And this truck here is really intended to show a proof of concept for how we can go from a Toyota Mirai light duty vehicle powertrain. So of course, we have our light duty fuel cell vehicle, but how could we leverage that same technology to decarbonize a Class 8 truck? And that's exactly what we did a few years ago. So we literally physically disassembled two of our existing Toyota Mirai, put in those two fuel cell stacks into these vehicles and show that they could indeed meet the duty cycle of full Class 8 trucks and also achieve a range of over 300 miles already, just our initial prototyping. So it's really a first step in moving from fuel cell technology for vehicles into heavy duty trucking. Now, of course, these trucks were not just sitting around doing nothing for the last couple of years. They've actually been on the road moving freight. So if you see here on the bottom picture in the top left, there's a few different cargo freight pieces that are moving around in the ports of LA and Long Beach. We now actually have over 20,000 miles, I think, of testing miles using them in actual duty cycles. And I will also point out too, in the top right picture there, you can actually see the shifter is the same as the as the Mirai, so that the shifter itself even is the same as you can see from a Toyota Prius or a Toyota Mirai, which is quite interesting to see in a big truck. But of course, we see that changing as it continues to move. Moving into the next slide here, you could really see the hydrogen fueling infrastructure is also a key need, which of course I think we all know. And so today there are two existing stations supporting these vehicles in the ports of LA and Long Beach. This first one here happens to be in the Toyota port facility. So this is where many of the vehicles come from Japan and other markets. And you see here, this station's been online since that 2017 timing, able to support those initial truck rollouts, and of course, able to support also other Mirai fueling events as well. But this is still based on light duty fueling technology. So of course, we want to see this continue to grow into heavy duty fueling technology, which I'll get to in just a second here. So again, expanding from just the initial couple prototypes, how do we start working with other OEM partners and really getting into something that can scale? And this really starts with our current Shore to Store project, which is a massive support from the California Air Resources Board and also the Port of Los Angeles. And Toyota is now partnered with the Kenworth Trunk Company and Shell from the infrastructure side as a way of leveraging, this $42 million grant on a total project scope of $82 million. And on the next piece here, you can see exactly what we're trying to achieve with this funding. And that starts with the rollout of the first 10 vehicles. So now working directly with Kenworth, we'll work on building 10 of those trucks throughout 2021, many of them completed already today. And also operating them with 4 unique operators. So 2 of them will be doing actual drayage routes within the ports. UPS is another key partner, so they'll be moving a lot of their packages around the LA Long Beach area. And also our car carrier fleet. You can see a picture there on the top. Our actual internal car carriers will be moving a lot of the vehicles that come into the port using 4 of these trucks for demonstration. And Shell, as our partner, will be developing 2 new heavy-duty stations, which are each capable of over 1,000 kilograms per day, or 1 ton per day of hydrogen production. And I'll show you a bit of a status of the project to date so far. So here you see two of those trucks. We actually just released this last week, where the first two vehicles will be going to customers very shortly now. So they've now been completed and going through their final commissioning, and we'll deliver these two trucks to start those trials here in just the next few weeks here. So it's really good to see this project starting to kick off and starting to get these trucks on the road. And the same is true for the stations. Sorry, I got my my handy assistant back here is helping me with the presentation today. So if you see here, the stations as well are almost always complete and ready for commissioning. So the first one on the top pictures there is our station in the Port of Long Beach. So you actually see kind of a bird's eye view and some commissioning testing you see with our first truck. But you can also see in the bottom using the stations at existing truck stops. So this is about 60 miles inland, where a lot of the freight moves within the port of LA and Long Beach. And so they actually just retrofitted two existing truck lanes at a truck stop to be able to fuel hydrogen trucks. So it kind of shows two different models of a greenfield site at the port and also an existing truck stop site about 60 miles away. I also want to note we have a strong interest in the renewable aspect of hydrogen. And so one example we're using here is called trigeneration. We'll actually use a directed biogas feedstock into a high temperature fuel cell from Fuel Cell Energy, and that will produce 1 ton per day of renewable hydrogen, but also a few megawatts of renewable electricity and heat on site. And so this will actually create that port facility will be 100% renewably powered when that comes online next year. The other key piece I want to note is the fueling aspect. So of course, we know light duty vehicles have a standard where they can all be connected to all stations support all vehicles, and all vehicles can go to any station. We want the same to be true for trucks. And so we're working with the likes of Hyundai and Nikola from the truck side, and Shell, Air Liquide, and Nel on the vehicle fueling side to ensure that there is a common standard to enable fast, safe fueling for heavy duty trucks as well. My last couple of slides here just highlight the fact that we're using that same core fuel cell technology for a lot more than just vehicles and trucks, but anything from marine, to buses, stationary, even the yard truck there in the bottom right is actually a pilot we've done at the port as well, where they can move a lot of their containers within the port, not just the on-road trucks. So in this sense, trying to proliferate the technology into much more than just a single application, but as many as we possibly can to decarbonize. Just these last two slides are a couple recent announcements. So you can actually see that the picture behind me as well is a Hino truck. So a few weeks ago, there was an announcement that we're now developing not only trucks with Kenworth, but also trucks with Hino. So we will have a few different main OEMs in the US and other global markets where we're able to develop powertrain technology for FC and bring them into existing OEM frameworks that exist today. And the most recent announcement here on my last slide is our next generation of the technology. So of course, we're releasing the next generation Mirai here in the States, actually starting this month. But we're not only stopping at the vehicle, we're looking to bring that new and improved fuel cell stack into these trucks. So this is actually our first couple trucks in that next phase of development, utilizing our next generation fuel cell technology. And of course, we're very excited to continue to get closer to that production intent that we know that the industry so desires. So with that, I'll definitely wrap up and appreciate all the time today and welcome any questions that you have. Thank you.